Picture this. It's early morning, and you're woken up by soldiers banging on your door. You barely have time to grab your belongings before they force you and your family to leave the only home you've ever known. The air is filled with cries of confusion and fear. This is what thousands of Native Americans faced during the Trail of Tears, a heartbreaking chapter in American history. In this video, we will cover the heartbreaking truth behind the Trail of Tears, a forced removal that led to the suffering and deaths of thousands of Native Americans. We'll explore how the U.S. government, under Andrew Jackson, justified this mass displacement, the brutal journey west, and the devastating impact on Native tribes. We'll also uncover the little-known connection between the Trail of Tears and African American history, revealing how enslaved Africans were caught in this tragic event. Stay tuned as we expose the truth they didn't teach you in school. Greetings and welcome, history seekers. I'm Carolyn A. from GettingToTheRoots.com. Here, we're all about uncovering and celebrating your unique family history. Together, we'll explore and honor the stories that define us. Let's dive in. Who were the 5 tribes? The Cherokee, Creek, Chickasaw, Choctaw, and Seminole tribes, often called the 5 civilized tribes, had lived and thrived in the Southeast for generations. The term 5 civilized tribes was a label given by white settlers and the United States government to describe their willingness to adapt to their customs. However, this label reflected the biases of the time rather than the truth about Native cultures. It unfairly suggested that other tribes were less advanced, disregarding the diverse and sophisticated societies that existed across North America. These were not wandering groups, but established nations with their own governments, economies, and rich cultural traditions. But their fertile soil became their undoing. White settlers, hungry for cotton-rich fields, saw native lands as an obstacle to progress, a problem they believed tribal removal could solve. From Georgia to Florida, their lands were not just homes, but the heart of their identities. These tribes developed farming systems, written languages, and centralized governments, and many of their leaders worked tirelessly to coexist with settlers. White settlers saw the fertile soil of the southeastern United States as perfect for growing cotton, which was becoming a key driver of the American economy. To them, the native tribes were obstacles to progress, and their removal seemed inevitable. Some tribes even negotiated treaties to protect their territories and adopted aspects of European American culture in an effort to maintain peace. The Iroquois Confederacy, for example, had an advanced political system that inspired aspects of the U.S. Constitution, and the Pueblo peoples built highly organized agricultural communities long before European contact. White settlers, hungry for land to cultivate cotton, a booming crop in the 19th century economy, saw native lands as an obstacle to progress. The increasing demand for agricultural expansion, combined with the settlers' belief in manifest destiny, made the removal of these tribes seem inevitable in the eyes of the U.S. government. Native lands were coveted not just for their resources, but also because they symbolized barriers to what settlers saw as America's rightful growth. In the end, the native tribes' willingness to adapt, and their thriving communities, only made their lands more desirable. Their attempts to coexist were met with broken treaties and the relentless push of settlers determined to claim these territories as their own. What followed was one of the darkest chapters in American history, the forced removal of these tribes and the immense suffering that came with it. The role of Andrew Jackson and the Indian Removal Act? In 1828, Andrew Jackson was elected President of the United States. He believed that Native Americans were standing in the way of the country's growth.
That's a wrap, history seekers. Catch the full story on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Peace and love.